Today's message comes from Genesis 26 still, and we're going to talk some more about wells in verses 18 through 23. So let's read that as kind of one thing, and then we'll come back and break it down. It says, he reopened the wells his father had dug, because remember, Isaac had moved to Gerar, which the Philistines had filled in after Abraham's death. Not sure why they filled those in, but they did. Isaac also restored the names Abraham had given to them. Wells were so important they were named like a town. Okay, that's how important these things were. And Isaac's servants also dug in the Gerar Valley and discovered a well of fresh water. But when the shepherds from Gerar came and claimed the spring, this is our water, they said, and they argued over it with Isaac's herdsmen. So Isaac named the well Esek, which means argument. Isaac's men then dug another well, but again there was a dispute over it. So Isaac named it Sitnah, which means hostility. Abandoning that one, Isaac moved on and dug another well, and this time there was no dispute over it. So Isaac named the place Rehoboth, which means open space. For he said, at last the Lord has created enough space for us to prosper in this land. And from there, Isaac moved to Beersheba. So, more well problems. He moves because of jealousy, and the area he moves to, once again, there is more jealousy. And now they're trying to just flat steal from him. Right? His servants dug another well and discovered, well, fresh water. Now, the freshwater well is even more interesting. This was a spring is what he found. It was an underground spring. So this wasn't just he dug a hole, water water, he finds some water, he kind of hits the water table. This is a fresh water spring, right? This is, you buy spring water at the store bottled. It probably really came out of a tap somewhere. But anyway, that's beside the point. It's the same thought process. This is the best fresh water you could find in that day. So they want to then take that from him. But what's really interesting here also is that he goes back to the wells that his father had dug also, not just this new one. And so the supply that his father had gotten was still there for him. It was still sitting there looking at him. That's interesting. You see, the spiritual application of this is pretty easy and pretty simple, but it's true. That the spiritual resources that are available to us today are the same ones that were available to those before us. The wisdom of those that's come before us is still available to us today. Those wells were still available to Isaac. And the truth of the gospel that our parents and our grandparents and our great-grandparents all had and knew is still there for us today. We don't have to try to go find new truth. We don't have to try to go find new wisdom. Wisdom is already sitting there. The Word of God is already there. What we need to live in this world is already present. We don't need to find anything new. And so as Isaac continues down this path, when you look at verses 20 through 23, as he continues to dig wells, they continue to take them from him. And Isaac doesn't want to fight with this entire group of people, because that's what it would wind up being. He's going to go to war with an entire, almost nation state is kind of what he's doing, a city state. So he knows he can't do that. So he continues to move until finally they leave him alone. And he calls the place open space. I think we could all use a little more open space. But we're going to stop right there, and we'll see you again soon for another mini message.